start recording. Good. Well, welcome. I'm going to take you through a few things very high level on on what ORRAA is. I know that many of you know what ORRAA is and what it does already, but then I want to talk specifically about the opportunity that this new cohort of ORIC projects, what that represents. We call it the ORIC23 simply because we're launching it 2023, and we're trying not to call it ORIC3, which it in effect is. So if I say ORIC3, please interrupt me and correct me. It's ORIC23. I'm gonna just talk you through ORRAA, very high level. We happen to also have the director of programs and risk of ORRAA joining us, but I have not briefed him to actually speak any. Lars, could I ask you to mute, please? Lars, could I ask you to mute?
I'll be very hustling.
Thank you, Lars. Oops, someone else. Sorry.
I have to stop somewhere. I have a meeting that I have to move to another one.
Okay, not sure who that is. Catherine, could I ask you to? I think I muted Catherine now. Good. Sorry about that. I'm going to give you a high level of ORRAA. I'm going to mute her again. There we go. We have Chip, who is the program director of programs and risk at ORRAA, and he can, if he wants to, interrupt me and talk about it as well. I have not briefed him to do so. There is Chip. Very nice to see you, Chip. Then I'm going to spend a bit of time on ORIC. What is ORIC? What have we done? What's the purpose of what we want to do? And then I'm going to invite our friend Kritos Tonga to come in and talk a little bit about his experience with ORIC. He happens to be a current incubee or member of the cohort for the first cohort we ran, ORIC 2021. And then we open up the for questions in a Q&A. We might be done ahead of time, but let's see how we get along. If you have questions, I'd ask you to raise your hand or put them in the chat, or just sort of when we come to the Q&A, we can have a more of an open floor. The ORRAA mission is to really try to address the massive problems the planet is facing, and the ocean in particular. And one thing I learned when I started working with ORRAA a few years back was that there aren't oceans. There is one ocean. It's all connected into one. And that's how we see it. We see that the ideas that we work on here are absolutely critical to help us adapt and also to help us save the ocean and the amazing resources we have in the ocean. I'm not going to stay too long on this, but here are some examples of problems that are coming as a result of climate change. Problems for people, problems for planet, problems for financial systems. And we also have a real sort of a lack of capital going into the ocean space, which is needed, which is also a bit strange because we can see that if there is more investments into innovation, into natural resources, into nature-based solutions, there is a very strong argument for doing that, because it saves us a lot if we can preempt and prepare rather than try to recover from disaster. And all of these things are happening. There are reports out every day on what these impacts are. And the coastal countries are the ones that are taking the brunt of this, and the small nation states. This is one of the very big reasons why we're doing this. There are a lot of barriers to investment into natural capital and to nature-based solutions. We don't really know. I mean, we might have an idea, but the market as such don't really know how to invest in it. There is a limited pipeline. There aren't any risk-adjusted investable projects. There are limited solutions that are really scalable and innovative and could really change the way we do things when it comes to the ocean. Not extracting resources from the ocean, but rather, excuse me, adding value in some other way that is not extractive to the ocean. We don't have enough data or modeling capabilities. At ORRAA, we're doing quite a lot of work around this, but we know that there is not enough data and modeling capabilities to do anything large scale. You have issues around enabling policies, and that goes all the way from COP down to whoever is represented at COP, down to local governments and municipalities. It's really hard to tie that all together so that you get a complete and more holistic picture of the system that everyone is active in. And there is also something that seems to be missing, and that is, what are the returns? Because if you invest in something like the ocean and anything nature-based, the payback time is very long, and the way the financial markets work today is that they expect a return every quarter, etc. So we need to work on solving that. The Ocean Resilience Innovation Challenge, ORIC, now ORIC23. We want to help build an ecosystem and drive more projects into a pipe that is considered investable by private sector players, by blended finance vehicles, and so on and so forth. That needs to happen. We need to build that ecosystem, and I'll come back to this a little bit more, but we need to do that. We need to identify, find the innovations that you have, nurture those things, nurture you into that ecosystem, so that you become more investable. You are probably great, and you probably have very investable projects. We just need to make sure that you speak to the right people, and also to work with you on your models and so on. Now, this method is the way we're doing this is built on well, 15 years of experience, 10 years in its current format. We've in close partnership with something called the Global Resilience Partnership, where I also happen to head up the innovation and scaling work. We have over the years worked exactly with this model and supported over $40 million of investments. That's from us. That's not leveraged private sector funding. That number is a bit more difficult to get, but I have some smart people working on it. But we're talking huge amounts of money that goes into nature-based solutions, resilience building, and so on. And now we're doing that with regards to the ocean. The partners of ORIC23 is Swiss Re Foundation and the US, and we have one more pending, waiting for confirmation to be able to speak openly about that. But my point is, we have interest from the private sector, and we have interest from a very important bilateral player in this space. Ocean Resilience Innovation Challenge so far. This is not a complete list, because, and I explain why. These are countries where we have actual projects going on, where the head office of the projects are in those countries. Some of those projects and companies we're working with, they have projects in 10+ countries, where we are also involved in how to scale that. But Tanzania, South Africa, you see a lot of Africa there, you see a lot of Asia. We have a few more over in Latin America as well, and hope to increase that number. This plays to the ecosystem that we want to build, the ecosystem of that exchange and sharing between you guys, between the other alumni of ORIC and ORRAA, but also with our institutional partners, our academic partners, and so on. And ORRAA ORRAA is a partnership. It has lots of member companies, organizations, and countries that are quite keen to get involved and see more of this. The themes, they vary widely. So anything from carbon credits with mangroves, there's seaweed insurance, there's eco leather. You might wonder what eco leather is. It's actually real leather, but it comes from an invasive species. And as long as you take that invasive species out of where it's invading, it sort of ticks the box for being eco-friendly. There is finance supply credit chains, supply chain credits. There is quite wacky but really cool insurance for waves. So how do you insure a wave? Do you want to insure a wave or against the wave? Well, actually insuring the wave is something that can strengthen the local ecosystem around tourism and the economy. Models. I don't want to anchor you in any particular model here, so I'm just saying a wide range of innovative and scalable models. I want to stress a little bit what we mean by innovative and also what we mean by scalable. Innovation is something new that you sort of you come up with. It could be a new product. We see that as a potential innovation. It could also be a new way of doing things, changing the model around how something works. That could be quite disruptive. We're obviously conscious of the risks that can come with this, but it needs to add and change something, because if we don't do something when it comes to a lot of these value chains that we're seeing and a lot of these communities and how they are forced to interact with their environment and other stakeholders, that can be even more damaging, and we know that it is. So it's about adding that new thing to a product, a service, a new technology, a new way of gathering data, but also a new model, a new way of doing things, how to engage and interact. How do you play around with incentive systems, for example? Scalable model is important to us, not because the non-scalable and very local projects are bad, not that reason. The reason we want them to be scalable is we want to be able to replicate them. We want to, not we want you to be able to replicate them, or friends of yours or other peers that get inspired to take it to other places. That replication can be done by doing it the same thing, adjusted slightly, and you do it in a new country or in a new region of the country. It could be through a franchise model. It could be through just growing your own organization. Obviously, that takes time. But maybe that's the way to do it. It could be with who you partner to make this happen. Are you partnering with local governments? Are you partnering with local community stakeholders? How can you get that out there? How can we support you in making the introductions to new regions, new areas? We have in our network and through our partners quite a lot of access to various accelerators, incubators, funders, other partners that you need for actually scaling up. Scaling to us is not, despite what will come on a later slide, but it's not just being able to absorb more money. Anyone can absorb money. Some people can, some organizations and companies can do it in a smart way, and some people just absorb it and then nothing sort of happens. We want to make sure that when you have your models right, you have that absorption capacity and it can be used for scaling. Critical point. It needs to scale. It needs to have impact. It needs to reach more people. It needs to have a real influence on policy, on actually how stuff happens and is done in the context of where you are operating. Finally, on that, we're not looking for finished models. We're looking for potential. The team that will review this and the team that will later on step in and mentor the shortlisted applicants have vast experience of doing that. I myself, I've done this sort of thing for about 15 years. I'm an entrepreneur. I've scaled, I've exited, I'm comfortable. I'm doing this because I'm freaking out and panicking over the state of the planet and the ocean. And hopefully I can give something to someone else that will do the job better than I could. The same goes for the others. We've worked in impact funds as investment managers for impact related and non-impact related initiatives, channeling quite a lot of money into the companies where we have worked with, coming from all the way from real startup to actually scaling. Hence, we think we know what to look for when we look for potential. We're not looking for perfect models. I just really want to stress that point. We're looking for something that has potential where we think you have more space to grow. As a Swiss diplomat once told me, I'm Swedish, I'm not Swiss, but as a Swiss diplomat once told me, Jesper, do you know what the biggest room is? And I looked at her perplexed, and she said, the room for improvement. So that was about me, right? Not about you guys. But I think that there is always scope for improvement. And our ultimate goal with this is to see the selected shortlisted projects and then finalists really succeed. The timing, this is on the website, and there's more information on the website that you can go and look at, and lots more information about ORRAA, much more than I can cover in just an hour of webinar. It was launched the 16th of Jan, and the deadline is the 28th of February. And we will announce, the plan is to announce the winners in, the shortlisted. This is actually a typo, it shouldn't say winners, it should say shortlisted applicants in April of this year. And then we will engage with the shortlisted companies from April onwards to September. And there's lots of stuff going on there. There's a bit of funding, there's lots of mentoring, there's the Leadership Academy, and there's investor forums and special workshop on particular issues, and a lot of peer-to-peer engagement between ORIC cohorts and various initiatives in the ORIC sphere, but also with ORRAA and beyond. I already mentioned that we work closely with the Global Resilience Partnership, and through that we have partnerships with UNDP and ISCAP and lots of other programs. So where appropriate and where we see linkages, we will obviously make those linkages and make sure that you can interact and learn and inspire and so on. The process, it's open to sort of anyone, really. Don't let that be something that stops you. You'll find the eligible countries. That's a long list, so I'm not going to put it here, but you'll find that in the guidance notes that is also available on the website. When Kritos is talking, I will put those links in the chat so that they're easy to access. Just going to check the chat. So Joe, I'm going to keep your question and then come back to it during the questions, if that's okay. Oops, here we go. The goals are pretty self-explanatory, really, and I've mentioned many of them already. We need to find and surface, which is a good way of putting it when you're talking about the ocean, new financial and insurance initiatives. We will look at them rigorously. Trust me, we're putting all our experience into finding out which ones are ready to work with now and which ones we should maybe work with later. We will provide customized support. You have a point person, a mentor that works with you. You also have access to me. You also have access to communication support. I'll come back and repeat all of this later on, but repetition is the best teacher, I find. And we will work with you to look for scalability and investability. The viability element there, which sort of combines the two, very important. We will, as I've mentioned, align partners and potential funders to these initiatives. So we will introduce you to them. We will give you some money ourselves, but we will also introduce you to others when you're ready. More on a slide later on that. And then more broadly, we need to get this message out there that stuff needs to happen with regards to the ocean and resilience and local communities living in coastal we need to get that out to relevant people, to relevant partners. We need to expand that partnership to also include other stakeholders that aren't part of that. That's our job. But we're doing the work with you in order to have something to talk to them about, the investable projects that you come up with, for example. We need to encourage further investment. And the only way to do that, I say this as a former fund manager, if you want to set up a fund, you need to show that you have the pipe of investable projects, and you need to show that you have a good pipe of viable projects. And once you have that, which we sort of have, but we need to grow it more, then you have a whole different conversation with whoever is funding. And we need to expand, as I said already, the partnerships and the networks to engage with this. And also in that process, drive the learning that we get from this, not just from working with you, but the actual science behind what's happening, get that out there and broadly disseminated. Don't pay too much attention on the details here. I just want to highlight one thing, and that is the reddish kind of almost rectangle over here. This is how ORRAA works. We identify, we surface new projects, and then we want to feed them to the right. So once you get close to proof of concept, we know who to introduce you to, and we have done so with projects from the first two cohorts. Additional funding, some of it comes from ORRAA and some of it comes from our partners. The big money will probably come from our partners because they are financial institutions and insurance institutions and so on, as well as funds investing particularly in the blue economy. So we push you to the right, which means that once you come into this sort of funnel universe, there is a nudge to get you further to the right all the time. ORRAA does this through the Ocean Innovation, the Ocean Resilience Innovation Challenge. ORRAA also has open calls. This is not one of those, but you can keep your eyes on the ORRAA website for more information on that. And just has general calls for proposals out there as well, because we really want to build that ecosystem. You're now in the ORIC conversation we're having now, talking to the people who will work with you if you have a small new idea, an initiative you've been working on for a while, an initiative in your existing company where you think that you need support to sort of grow, and if you're looking for a few $1,000,000, we need to have another conversation, and it's not in this context. Very briefly on this, again, just reiterating the point I just made, ORIC is working on the left-hand side of the screen here when it comes to seed mentoring and grant funding. The grant funding available for projects in the ORIC cohorts is up to 50,000. And that lasts you for about, no, well, it doesn't last you. That depends on your work plans and everything. But that's something that we want to see you work with for a year. During that year, there will be other opportunities for additional introductions to funders and so on. So it's a question of time and size and how ready you are. You also see proof of concept in the middle. That is sort of where we want to pivot you over from the smaller scale funding to the larger scale funding. We're not doing that because we think you worked long enough on something. It's when an argument can be made that you have pretty much close to proof of concept on what you're doing, and it now requires additional funding. And I'm leading the ORIC work. But I work really closely with the rest of ORRAA, and I'm part of that team as well. Benefits for the winners. A boring maybe list, but lots of exciting content. And I apologize for my dog here. Up to 24 hours of mentoring. That's usually more. We'll take you through frameworks and models that we have value chain driven viability analysis. We look at problem and context. You'll learn stuff. We will definitely learn stuff. We look at the business model. We work with you on ideation and innovation, and also look for the resilience triggers. Network, communication support, leadership academy I mentioned, support on monitoring and evaluation and learning. And then, as I mentioned already, the alumni of ORIC and ORRAA. Now, with that, I'd like to hand over a little bit to Kritos, who I've had the privilege of working with for a few years now, who has been in the cohort, actually in 2 cohorts of ORIC. Kritos,
yeah,
tell us something.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jesper. Hello, everyone. My name is Kritos, and I am from Tanzania. And I think I am we are the benefit of the ORRAA Ocean Resilience Challenge from ORIC1 with the mangrove carbon credits. And the ORIC2 in our organization, we are working on the seaweed project. So I think it's a little, I will just say a few things about the experience we had with the ORIC, and from the time that we started to work with them until today. I don't know if you can hear me, because I see my video is like shaking or something. You can hear me still, Jesper? No?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. So with the Ocean Resilience Innovation Challenge is a very interesting one, and with my experience, it only started with an idea. So we had an idea of making the mangrove carbon credit project. So from there, with that idea, we applied for the call from ORIC1. And when we got accepted, it was really good news for us. We started working with Jesper and his team. They have, like Jesper said, they have networks of partners who can help in different ways to mentor and shape your ideas, shape your models. That's why Jesper also mentioned about having an idea and then the model can be refined later. So the good the idea, the better. So we were privileged to work with partners that ORRAA have. One of the great guys that we worked with, I could remember, is Moritz from Carbon Financing. So what I really wanted to point out is that they have that kind of partnerships that can really help you to refine your idea and make it easily investable to funders. And the second thing that I would say is that their model of not really saying like how much funding they're gonna give, it's really nice to me, I find it, because different ideas have different levels of investments based on the different models that you can choose. And with ORIC and Global Resilience Partnerships, they form these strong partnerships where people they can get to know where they can get support of their ideas, how to refine the idea. There are also investors in their network. So in this way, the mentors helped us to refine the idea of, let's say, mangrove carbon credits. And then we had a privilege to attend the Leadership Academy, which was really nice, with other organizations that are being supported by ORRAA. We learned together as a team what are the challenges in terms of leadership. So there is more than the funding itself, the network, the connections. And also we had a privilege to apply for another call for proposal that ORRAA themselves, through their partners, they announced on the next generation. which was successful. And I would say at this stage, it was successful because of the mentorship we had before with people who helped us to refine the model that we had before to, make it sound more investable to funders and answer all really key questions, because the key questions is helping resilience, especially when you have complicated projects where you want to work with communities, the government in your country. You need to see the best way to engage them. So with this journey of learning and mentorship, it was really nice, because at the end of the day, you got back to that concept that is really investable to many different funders within the network of ORRAA and ORIC, which was really nice. And also we've been privileged to work on the seaweed microcredit project, which is currently ongoing. It's also received support from ORRAA through Ocean Resilience Challenge 2. So there was a funding that ORRAA provides you to kickstart or to do a pilot and then see how it goes based on those recommendations and reports. Then they help you to scale out from there. So with the seaweed project, it was also a very good experience. My colleague Jerry is working on that, and they're on the field right now. So what they're doing is they are deploying the tubular net technology to help the women to farm seaweed in deeper waters in terms of building resilience. And in making sure that they do that, they do this through microcredits of where the women gets these access to these products and they pay it continuously, which is really nice. So I would say you might have a lot of questions of what the funding amount is to support your project or your idea. But at the same time, it's really nice because ideas, when they get refined, there could be changes, different levels of investment. So I think this is really brilliant. But in the end, just know that ORRAA, Jesper and his team, I've seen Jack Stewart is here, and also Chip is here. They are really nice, where you sit down with them, they understand your project, they help to refine the project. At the end of the day, you really have a good project that can attract funders to invest more in your project. So it's not like the other projects that people announce they will fund this amount. But in the end of the day, when you go down the field, you find out that you are missing a lot of stuff, that you see yourself that you needed more help to refine the models. And I think this is a very effective way of working, because I would say I would really recommend to everyone to apply for this. If you have an innovative idea on ocean resilience in the areas and themes that Jesper just explained, because for us, the kickstart of all this journey with ORRAA, and now our concept can get even more funding from the other institutes. So I don't know if Jesper should say the funding amount after all the mentorships, or
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So after the whole mentorships, and so the first thing that we got was the for pilot. So we have around almost 20,000, where we started a pilot on our carbon credit project, creating the awareness we need and everything. And we continue. They continue to refine our ideas with this mentorship. And now the project, when we applied for the next generation funding from ORRAA, and it's through their partnerships, they get this. And currently we were able to attract over $300,000, which is enough to implement our project. I would say this is the amount of funding that we did not foresee when we started this project, but through mentorship, we realized different things we need to make it work, to make it successful. And I would say the leadership program was also really interesting, because it exposed us to different complex problems and subject us to, team way of working and on how we can achieve things in very difficult circumstances. So I would say, if you have an idea, I would really recommend that you really start this journey with the ORRAA, an idea of, saving the ocean, creating resilience for the community, anything on insurance, microcredits, making the ocean better. As we say that the coastal, like the city where I live in Dar es Salaam, there are so many assets, and we think that this mangrove forest, when we restore, you can see in the back of my background, this is successful restored mangroves. We think they will help more to protect these assets. And yeah, I think it's really useful, and I'm really happy to take any question, or if someone would want to ask me more question on how it goes. I'm really happy that you can even ask Jesper to share my email. I can share more experience, but it's really interesting thing, and please take a chance. It's only one shot of an idea, and then in 2-3 years, when your idea is much better, you would, I promise you would really see it happening when you get to the level of having a good model. And there's a lot more than funding you need for your ideas. So I don't know, Jesper. I think I tried my best to remember.
No, it's good.
All the things, but the most important thing that you mentioned, I know many people could have ideas like how much funding, blah blah, but as long as ORRAA they work with you, they also give you a space to showcase your ideas, for instance, in their website. And there are so many partners. And I think since when we started our journey with ORRAA, we've made a lot of partners and friends through ORRAA that, we are sharing good news, finding different ways of collaboration. From day to day, I got emails that relate with ORRAA. So it's something that anchor your idea, yourself, and your projects with all partners in global resilience partnerships to make your idea.
Thank you, Kritos.
So there is no failure with so please take a share.
Thanks, Kritos. Thank you, Kritos. Well, I think Kritos really illustrates there is 50,000 for the finalists in this round, but as Kritos mentioned, we don't see that as a one-off, and we don't expect you to do achieve everything with one, that funding, and two, within that time frame. But it's about working with you so that you you will work with other partners too, of course, but to sort of bring you forward on that journey. I have some questions, and I think I have some comments, but I think answering the questions will do that. And then please also ask questions by raising your hand or something. Joe Kelly from Australian Seaweed Institute, I think we responded to that question. I should also mention that we have a bunch of seaweed projects in previous cohorts, and it's something we would be keen to see more of, and also make the connections with those projects. Kritos is actually involved in one of them, although that's not the one he talked about here. Camille, is it new financial and insurance initiatives, or is it new financial or insurance initiatives? It's or. You can combine them if you want to, but it's or. And it can be a financial solution that sort of helps something else happen. So it doesn't have to be a bank product, a bank service. It's something that allows. So, for example, the microcredit solution for supply chain management is one such example. Carbon credits is another. They are sort of financial solutions or products, but the core of the project in the mangrove scenario is mangroves, and the core of the value chain is stuff that happens in the value chain. So there's flexibility and openness on that one. Catherine, our concept is focusing on upscaling community entities like beach managers and waste management cooperatives along the Indian Ocean to form a social enterprise. Can the NGO, which is to incubate the social enterprise, receive the funding to incubate the social enterprise? Yes. We're looking for a solution, not to make stuff complicated for anyone. So yes. Could you say more about who might provide the mentoring support and what specific skills they bring? To Lucy. It depends what we think is needed. The contact person, the point of contact, will be an experienced mentor, someone who has done work themselves, like myself, or someone from my immediate team. And some of them will have more experience in conservation. Some of them will have more experience in mangroves and seaweed. Some of them will have more experience in finance. So we will pair where it sort of makes sense and where it adds the most value. But as a minimum requirement for us to take them in and work with them, they will have to have 10+ years of experience of running their own thing, starting their own thing, having worked in larger contexts, as well as supporting impact funds or running impact funds, and so on. So it's a mix, but they're experienced. They will bring project management skills. They will bring an understanding of different types of funders. So how do you lead a conversation with a bilateral funder in comparison to how do you lead it with a Swiss-based impact fund, for example? They will have that type of experience. They will be encouraging. They will be trustworthy. They are not there to sort of report back to me or anyone in ORRAA about the stuff that you do. We're here to test stuff and learn stuff. So it's a dialogue, and that needs to happen in a trusting environment. And they know that and respect that. We also have the partners. So the previous cohorts have received support from experts from IUCN, for example. We have insurance companies that are providing project time and resources to projects we're working on in other cohorts. And we have commitments from all our partners to be available to do such things. The 24 hours I mentioned on one of the slides, that is sort of the project management kind of mentoring. And in addition to that comes a lot of other stuff. Kritos mentioned that he talked to a guy called Maurits, carbon finance, and that was above and beyond the other types of engagements that we had. So I hope that answers your question. I'm told that there is a page on the ORRAA website where some of my guys are listed. I haven't seen it myself, but it's supposed to come up in prep for this webinar, and I'm happy to share that link with you over email after this. There's and then I put the link to the actual opportunity. I guess most of you actually signed up to this webinar on that link, so that's no news. If you have any questions, send us an email or send me an email directly. I'll put that in there when I get the question. No worries, Ehlers. Looking forward to your application, given where you are and what you work with. Oops, sorry, it's just bumped. A question from Eva Martin. Excuse me if I don't pronounce that right. Could you clarify whether an NGO working with the local coastal community to help them start up social enterprise can be the lead applicant? Yes. As to the previous question, yes, eligible to receive the funding. We want to see the intention being what we outline, but how you make that happen needs to happen in different ways in different geographies and contexts anyway, and we're aware of that. Joe Kelly, you're right. Australia is not eligible to be the implementation place, but if you have a project and you want to work somewhere else, then that country might well be eligible. And we have several examples of that. We have companies based in California. The US is not eligible, but they're very much part of the cohort 22, and currently receiving mentoring support from one of our guys, and engaging with both Swiss Re and Munich Re on a number of different topics related to insurance. It's the insuring waves concept, by the way. Thank you guys very much, Lars. And again, I'm sorry if I pronounce any names wrong. I'm Swedish, so I don't know how to pronounce anything. My name is rarely pronounced right, and I even started pronouncing it incorrectly myself just to make myself understood. Asado Saman, sorry. I wouldn't say encourage, but very welcome. So yeah, encourage. We would encourage that. Yes, I can see a lot of linkages to what we want to the themes we're looking for now when it comes to ICT. And you can take that further. You can even look at really off the cuff stuff, not off the cuff, but really out there kind of stuff when it comes to AI and so on. So that's very welcome. Blockchain and whatnot. There are real applications around that we've seen, and some of them are actually in our existing cohorts. So I would definitely actually encourage it. Good. Any other questions? I think if I missed any in the chat, it's because it jumps up and down. But I think I covered all of it. Good. Well, I can just echo what Kritis said. Please apply. And I look forward to looking at your submissions and working with you, whether it will be as part of this cohort or a future cohort or just in parallel, because you're singled out in the application process as someone who should be talking to someone else within ORRAA. My primary objective, though, is to get as many of you into my sphere and work with you. If you don't have any more questions, I think we can close a little bit early. Thank you so much, Kritis, and thank you everyone else for joining. And I'll see you. Oh, a camera came on. Is that a question, Lucy?
No, I was just going to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care and have a good rest of the week.